All right, I'm told first of all, we are back on the record. Appearances are as they were before. I'm told the jurors are done with lunch and available for us. So I presume the state's able to call its next witness.
Yes, we're ready, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, great. Then we'll have the jurors brought out. I will go tell them since I had Madam Clerk step off the bench for me. Hi, we're ready. Sorry, I didn't come out, so I'm telling you.
Record, was my ICF received?
I have not looked at my mail today. I can't tell you that.
Also, for the record, I'm appearing by special appearance on behalf of my client.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't hear you. Could you start that over? Oh, that's what happens when I send you on errands. All right. The audio is now on. I did call the case earlier. Just noted that the appearances are as they were before. The jury is on its way in. And I just will state, in case it wasn't clear, Mr. Brooks asked about an inmate communication form. I have not reviewed my mail today, so I can't tell you whether I've received anything, but I'll take a look, and at the next break, if need be, we can address that.
And I just wanted to state that I'm here. I'm here under special appearance on behalf of my client with all rights reserved.
All right, I'll rise for the jury, please. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Statement called its next witness.
Thank you, Judge. State calls Officer Christopher Moss.
All right, officer, if you would please make your way to the witness stand, which is on my right, upper riser. When you get there, please remain standing, raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, who's on my left, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat.
Thank you.
First thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
First name is Christopher, C-H-R-I-S-T-O-P-H-E-R. Last name is Moss, M-O-S-S.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
How were you employed?
Currently employed with the City of Waukesha Police Department.
How long have you worked in law enforcement?
I have been a sworn law enforcement officer for 14 years.
All of your time was spent with the City of Waukesha Police Department?
No, ma'am.
Who else did you work for?
6.5 years was spent working for the City of Oconomowoc Police Department, and a year, or just over a year, was spent working part-time for the Village of North Prairie Police Department.
Were you working for the City of Waukesha on November 21 of 2021?
I was.
Do you recall participating in the Waukesha Christmas Parade that afternoon?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What was your role, please?
For that event, I was tasked with the City of Waukesha Police Department's Honor Guard unit. Specifically, I was part of the Color Guard, which is the group that leads the parade carrying the American flag and the state of Wisconsin flag.
And you were there right at the beginning of the parade, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Do you remember about what time the parade kicked off?
Approximately 4 p.m.
Did you march the entire route of the parade?
I did.
Did you complete the parade?
Yes, I did.
Without incident?
Without incident.
And after you completed marching the parade with the Color Guard, did you go someplace?
Yes, upon completion of the parade route, as we were the first entity to finish since we led the parade, I subsequently returned to the City of Waukesha Police Department.
And why did you go back to the department?
That evening I was assigned to late power shift, which is from 5 p.m. to 3 a.m., and I was designated to work area 308.
Okay, so you marched in the parade with the color guard, then you were going to go work a full shift that evening.
That's correct.
As you were back at the police station, what do you recall happening?
As I was changing out of my honor guard uniform into my duty uniform, I heard multiple police sirens emanating from the downtown area. I subsequently checked our reporting system and observed that there was a call for service that officers were responding to an emergency fashion reference a subject with a knife.
And where was that response directed to? What location?
I believe that response was direct to the area of Frame Park in the city of Waukesha.
Did you do anything at that point?
I was still technically off duty, so I would continue to get dressed quickly in the event that they needed additional resources to that location.
And did you ever get called to that location, sir?
No, I was never called to that location.
What happened next?
As I continued to monitor my handheld radio while still getting dressed for duty, I heard via our primary channel fellow officers screaming hysterically on the radio, requesting people to respond to the downtown area and the parade route.
What did you do?
Got dressed as the fastest I've ever gotten dressed before, and subsequently sprinted out of the police department, entered a fleet, and responded in emergency fashion to the downtown area.
Specifically, where did you go?
I arrived in the area of Clinton and Main Street.
And can you briefly describe for us what you saw when you arrived at that intersection, sir?
Upon arrival, to describe what was just absolute chaos. As I exited my fleet, I looked east and westbound on Main Street. There were civilian subjects lying on the ground in every direction I looked, screaming, yelling, etc.
Did you attempt to render aid to these individuals?
I did. I ran in a westerly direction between Clinton and Maple, attempting to render aid to two elderly female subjects.
Did you, at some point, leave that duty and speak with Officer Skolton?
Yes, I did.
Where did you speak with Officer Skolton?
In the vicinity where I was, I ran into Officer Skolton, who approached me from a westerly direction. Upon making contact with him, he advised that he had fired rounds at a red Ford SUV, specifically an Escape. I asked him if he was okay. He stated that he was, and he subsequently said that we needed to find the vehicle.
And did you, in fact, set out to try and find this vehicle?
I did.
Prior to Officer Skolton telling you that, did you have any vehicle description?
I did not. The radio traffic was complete chaos with people screaming about injured participants of the parade being all over the downtown area.
So where did you go to look for the vehicle?
As I was moving my fleet near Donny Boy's Tavern on Main Street, I subsequently observed a male Hispanic running towards me, waving his hands frantically to garner my attention. And as I asked him what he needed, he subsequently stated he knew where the vehicle was.
Did you understand what he meant by that?
I clarified with him that he was speaking of the vehicle that was indeed involved in the incident in the downtown area, as well as the vehicle that Officer Skolton had fired rounds at. He confirmed this, and I subsequently told him to get into my squad car and began traveling with him.
Do you know the approximate time this was occurring?
The subject approached me at approximately 4:49 p.m.
And so you took the citizen with you in your squad?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And did he direct you to a specific location?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Where did you travel?
From my location where I met up with this individual, we traveled westbound on Main Street and subsequently made a left-hand turn to travel southbound on Maple Street. We traveled approximately 2 blocks to the area where I subsequently located the vehicle in the driveway.
How did you know it was the vehicle you were looking for?
Based off what Officer Skolton had previously described to me as a red Ford Escape, I observed a heavily damaged red Ford Escape in the driveway of 338 Maple. This particular vehicle was heavily damaged in the front end. I also observed that there was clothing embedded in the hood, as well as a headband with blue lighting hanging from the side mirror. Additionally, I observed a bullet hole in the windshield on the passenger side.
Did you secure this scene?
I did.
What did you do?
As I exited my fleet, I drew my firearm to clear the vehicle to ensure that it was clear of persons that could potentially harm me based on the information that I had garnered up to this point. And after that was done and rendered clear, additional resources that came to my location, we secured it by taping off the entirety of this particular residence as well as the street.
When you cleared the vehicle, were there any subjects present inside the vehicle?
There were not.
After you had secured the scene, did you have an opportunity to take photographs of the vehicle?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what device did you use to capture these photographs?
So each of our City of Waukesha police squads are assigned a cell phone. I believe this one in particular was an iPhone. We utilize that to capture photographic evidence as well. So I utilized the cell phone from the squad.
All right, I'm going to ask that exhibit number 99 be put up for the witness, please.
Go ahead.
Sir, do you see exhibit 99 on your screen? If not, it'll be up in a minute or so. Just let me know, please.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. Do you recognize that photograph, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you recognize the photograph to depict?
It depicts a heavily damaged Ford Escape in the driveway.
And where is this location?
338 Maple in the City of Waukesha.
Is this a photograph you took
Yes, ma'am, I took this photograph.
using your iPhone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Move to admit permission to publish, Your Honor.
Objection.
Exhibit 99 is received. Permission to publish is granted. The objection is overruled.
Sir, is this what the vehicle looked like when you first observed it?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had testified earlier that you were able to see some articles of clothing on the vehicle. Do you see those items in this photograph?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Could you please point them out? And that's a touch screen in front of you so you can mark it with a dot or an arrow or whatever you choose.
So here on the hood, near the windshield, was a hat, and then clearly seen hanging from the driver's side mirror is a headband that's partially illuminated.
What do you mean illuminated?
This particular headband had multiple, appeared to be blue LED lighting.
Okay. The front of the vehicle, it appears to me that the front bumper is laying on the ground. Is that accurate, sir?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. You may answer.
Yes, ma'am, that's accurate.
May we take the annotations down?
Yeah, we can deal with that. Thank you, Judge. So to your knowledge, no one had touched or disturbed this vehicle, at least since the time you were present, before you photographed it?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled. You may answer.
To my knowledge, no, there was no manipulation of this vehicle prior to my arrival.
Okay. And at some point, did you look inside the vehicle? And I don't mean just to clear it of persons. I mean take a closer look inside the car.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what was your purpose in doing that, sir?
Due to the nature of what was happening and the exigency of trying to identify who may have been inside the vehicle, I did locate documentation of identifying in nature.
And do you remember the name on that paperwork?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What was the name on the paperwork inside the vehicle?
The name on the paperwork inside the vehicle was one Darrell Edward Brooks, Jr., male black, date of birth 2/21 of 1982.
And in fact, was there more than one piece of paper inside the vehicle containing that same personal identifying information?
Objection, speculative.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Yes, ma'am, there was more than one item.
I don't see a front license plate in this photograph. Do you, sir?
No, ma'am.
Where's the license plate?
May I draw?
Yes.
It was determined later that this is actually the license plate
Okay.
on the front.
Not from the photograph, but from your recollection, was the rear license plate clearly visible?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
Yes, ma'am, the rear license plate was clearly visible in the vehicle.
Did you attempt to run the license plate for this vehicle?
Yes, I did via police radio.
what information did you learn about the registration of this vehicle?
The vehicle displayed a Wisconsin registration plate of A. Adam D. David P. Paul 9256, which listed to a Don L. Woods out of the city of Milwaukee.
Do you remember the approximate location of the street where Don Woods lived?
Objection, hearsay,
Um,
irrelevant.
overruled. The witness may answer.
No, I do not recall that information.
You just remember City of Milwaukee?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. And the vehicle was registered to Don Woods solely?
Objection, leading, relevancy of who's it related to.
The objections are noted. I'll sustain as to the form of the question and ask Attorney Upper to rephrase.
Was the registration only in one person's name?
From what I understand, it was.
Okay. Do you know the relationship between Don Woods and Darrell Brooks?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
No, ma'am, I do not know the relationship.
At a later point, as you were, well, strike that. Let me ask this. Did you remain with this vehicle for some time?
Yes, for some time.
And were other resources, law enforcement and other resources called to the area to deal with this vehicle, sir?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
And as that was occurring, are you aware of other police activity that was occurring nearby?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And what was that, please?
I had heard via police radio Officer Luling advised that he was out with a subject in the 500 block of Elizabeth Street, which is just a couple blocks away.
And did you hear Officer Luling indicate a name for the subject that he was out with?
Yes, I did.
And what was that name?
Officer Luling aired over police radio that he was out with a male subject identifying himself as Darrell Brooks.
All right, sir, thank you. I don't have any other questions. We can take down 99. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have one other question about 99. I apologize, Your Honor.
Objection.
Overruled. She may answer. She may ask.
Do you know what time you snapped that photograph of Exhibit 99?
Yes, ma'am, I took that photograph on the date in question at 5:01 p.m.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. You're cross, Mr. Brooks.
You stated that you were flagged down by a Hispanic male running at you waving his hands. Would that be fair to say?
That's correct.
Do you recall his name?
I do.
And would you state it for the jury and for the record?
His name is Abel Liscato.
And do you recall if Mr. Liscano gave you any additional information during your traveling to where the vehicle was located?
I don't understand your question.
You stated that Mr. Liscano got into your vehicle and you traveled to where the vehicle was located. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
Did you learn any additional information from Mr. Liscano? How do you say it, Liscano?
Liscano.
Liscano. Did you learn during your travel to where the vehicle was located? Did you learn any additional information from Mr. Liscano?
Not while we were traveling to the vehicle.
So you traveled to the vehicle in complete silence?
No, he was trying to direct me with the location of the red Ford Escape.
Did he say he saw anyone driving the vehicle?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
So all he told you was where the vehicle was. He didn't tell you if he saw anyone driving it?
Objection, hearsay.
Grounds.
The witness may answer the question as long as he does not answer with hearsay. Go ahead. Overruled.
Can you restate your question, please?
So all that the Mr. Liscano already told you was the location of the vehicle, not if he saw anyone driving?
I object. That question calls for hearsay response, Your Honor.
I would agree hearing that again. Sustained.
Did he at all tell you that he saw someone in the vehicle?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain?
It's hearsay. To ask him what Mr. Lascano told him would be hearsay.
So all Mr. Lascano did was just direct you to the vehicle?
That's correct.
That's all you guys talked about during your trip to the vehicle?
Objection asked and answered.
Grounds?
Sustained. It was asked, and I previously sustained the objection. So, next question, please.
When you were able to locate the vehicle, where did Mr. Lascano go?
Once the vehicle was located, I had Mr. Lascano stand by in my fleet until other officers arrived to assist me, and then I transferred him over to someone else.
Do you know if he made any report at that time?
Define report.
Did he make any report to law enforcement at that time?
I'm not sure if he did or not.
Do you recall Mr. Lascano yelling that there were subjects standing outside of the building?
Objection, Your Honor.
The
Hold on.
vehicle
I'm going
was-
to excuse the jury while I take up a legal issue. All rise for the jury, please. Thank you. Be seated. Mr. Brooks, before I have you question this witness any further, it sounds like to me that you are attempting to offer through this witness the statements made by Mr. Lascano. If that is what you are trying to do, you may not do that. You will have to call Mr. Lascano as a witness if you so choose, if he's on your witness list. But that your questions are seeking to elicit hearsay from this witness. That's why I had the jury removed so I could explain my ruling and why I'm going to direct you not to ask this witness questions about what Mr. Lascano may or may not have said.
I'm reading directly from his report.
That would be double hearsay then. Because it's not, you need Mr. Lascano here to say what he told this officer. If you are attempting to offer it for the truth of the matter asserted, which is what I believe you are doing, you're attempting to establish the veracity of something Mr. Lascano either said or didn't say through another witness. That is hearsay.
So it's not hearsay for the prosecutor to bring up.
I'm not going to talk about other rulings. There's been an objection by the state, and I'm sustaining the objection, and I'm directing you not to ask this witness questions that would call for this witness to say what Mr. Lascano said. That is hearsay. That is textbook hearsay, Mr. Brooks.
Then I don't think it's fair for me to object to hearsay from the prosecution along the lines of the same type
Again,
of thing.
I'm not going to have a debate on what may have come in previously. I know you've made a number of hearsay objections, many of which the answers that were being provided were not hearsay. But I would direct your attention to 908.01 of the Wisconsin statutes. You have that book in front of you that I provided to you a number of days ago at the beginning of this trial or near the beginning of this trial. There's the definitional section of the statutes, which defines hearsay. It also, and then if you go on to 908.
I know what hearsay is.
0.02, that's obviously one you may want to look at as well. And
don't
then
need to look at it. I know what it
90803
is.
has the exception. So unless you can
Clearly.
give me an exception, sir, as to why this witness should be allowed to answer those questions, I'm going to, again,
I'm
direct you not
reading
to ask
directly
these
from
questions.
his report, the report that he wrote. Nothing is coming from. I'm reading directly from his report. That's what I have
Doesn't
in front
change
of
the
me.
fact that it's hearsay.
You said what?
That doesn't change the fact that it's hearsay.
So
It
his
actually
report
creates
is
another
hearsay?
level of hearsay. It's an out-of-court statement.
So
Not
his-
this witness made, but what another witness made. So you have to,
So I can't read from his report that he wrote.
you can't ask this witness questions that call for a hearsay answer unless there's no objection from the state. Or you can convince me there's an exception to the hearsay rule that applies. Do you have an exception you'd like to offer to the court?
So I might as well not read the report that he wrote then if I can't question him about the report that he wrote.
That's your misunderstanding, sir, what is hearsay. And all I can tell you is I'm sustaining the objection. I'm going to bring the jury back out, and we'll go from there. All right, Madam Clerk, bring the jury out, please.
Clear bias. Clear bias.
Mr. Brooks, I understand
I
you
don't-
may
I don't
disagree
consent to
with
or agree to
the...
being called that name. For the record, again, I'm here as a third-party intervener on behalf of my client. I don't know why that's not understood by now. So I guess I can't bring up the plaintiff either, huh? Tacit agreement.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Continue with your questions, sir.
Now I gotta tread lightly.
The jury will disregard that last comment
I don't know why.
and that one as well.
Bias.
It's not your opportunity to testify. You'll be given an
I'm not
opportunity
testifying.
should you choose
I'm
later,
not
sir,
testifying.
but please question the witness.
If I
Thank
could
you.
ever get to it, I'll do that.
And again, the jury will disregard that statement. It's not evidence.
You made reference to a hat being on the hood. Can we pull Exhibit 99 up again?
Are you asking the state to do that, sir?
Yeah, can it please be pulled up and
Sure,
published?
it can, and it will. The jury can let me know when it's on the screens in the jury box, please. All right, it's in the jury box. Continue, please.
You testified to this being a hat, right?
That's correct.
And from this picture, can you tell what that is?
Not specifically.
So how do we know if that's a hat from looking at this picture?
From looking at this picture, it would be difficult to determine if that's actually a hat.
So it'd be fair to say you don't know what that is
Based on this picture, you're
based
right.
on this picture.
Based on this picture, I'm not able to determine what that item is.
Would it be also fair to say we can't even determine if that's outside or inside of the vehicle at that point?
I would disagree and say that is on the exterior of the vehicle
And how
between
would
the
you make
hood.
that assumption if you can't tell what it is?
Objection, argumentative.
Grounds.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
Can you clear that?
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You can definitively say from this picture that you can tell where the item is based on this picture.
Yes.
Are you going off what you found or what you can see from the picture?
I can see from this picture that that item is on the exterior of the vehicle between the hood that is destroyed and the windshield.
So it's on the hood?
It is between the hood and the windshield of the vehicle.
And you can tell that from this picture.
Objection as an answer.
Grounds.
Argumentative.
Sustained as to both grounds.
And from this picture, you can tell what this is.
Yes.
Just from the picture.
Yes.
And how do you come to that determination?
Based on the fact that it's hanging on the exterior of the vehicle from the driver's side mirror, that it is in the shape of a headband, and it is partially illuminated in this photograph with LED lighting.
It could be fair to say that it's anything. Would you not say that that's fair? Just from looking at the picture, it doesn't necessarily say, or it's not 100% identifiable from this picture. Would that be fair to say?
Objection, compound question.
Sustained as to the form of the question. Please rephrase.
Just from strictly looking at this picture, you can't positively say what the item is.
Objection. That's a mischaracterization of his testimony.
Sustained. Please rephrase.
Clear the photo.
You're asking Madam Clerk to please
Clear the
clear it?
photo.
Mr. Brooks, I'd ask that you show some deference to my clerk and not bark orders at her and use simple courtesy. Thank you. And thank you, Madam Clerk.
Will I be awarded the same, Your Honor?
Please ask your next question, sir.
Will I be awarded the same, Your Honor?
Please ask your next question.
I will. I just want to know if I'll be awarded the
I have been.
same.
Thank you. Please continue.
Did you talk to anyone who lived in the residence?
I don't recall the specific persons I talked to or where they resided.
So it's fair to say you talked to someone.
There were multiple people outside of the residence and in the area at that time that I spoke briefly to.
But you don't know if any of them was the renter or owner of the driveway.
I do not recall.
Do you recall asking anyone if the vehicle belonged to somebody who may have stayed in that general area?
I do not recall asking that question to anyone.
You did state that you cleared the area. Would that be fair to say?
No, I said I cleared the vehicle, not the area.
Did you clear the area?
Eventually, we did clear the back portion of the residence to ensure there were no suspects or victims.
Who is we?
Persons of law enforcement.
And did you wait until law enforcement came before you started to do that? Or did you start on your own kind of way?
Upon arrival to the location of the suspect vehicle, I was by myself, so I initially cleared the vehicle to ensure that there were no potential threats to myself. When I advised dispatch that I had located the suspect vehicle, numerous officers came to assist me and were there relatively quickly to help me secure the area.
So would it be fair to say when you found the vehicle that you didn't locate anyone inside the vehicle?
Correct. No one was located inside the vehicle at that time.
And you also stated that you cleared the vehicle for possible threats to yourself. If no one was in the vehicle, what did you need to clear the vehicle? What would be the threat?
Based on, again, as I earlier stated, what had occurred in the downtown, plus the fact that Officer Skolin had fired rounds at this vehicle, I was unsure who or what may be inside the vehicle. Given the time of day, as it was becoming dusk, it was getting harder to see outside. So to ensure my own safety, I cleared it the way I earlier stated.
So would it be fair to say that, well, let me back up. You took this photo, correct?
That is correct.
So that would mean you were, at least by that time, sure that no one was in the vehicle. Would that be fair to say?
That is correct.
So did you clear the vehicle before taking the picture or afterward?
I cleared the vehicle before I took the photograph.
Did you find any threats in there?
After I initially cleared it, no. It was deemed to not be a threat to my person.
Did you do any other investigating after you had took this photo?
Can you rephrase the question?
Did you do any other investigating after you took this photo?
After the photographs were collected of the vehicle in place from multiple angles, I did locate identifying information inside the vehicle.
What I'm asking is, so let me back up. So that was the extent of your investigation was finding whatever you found in the vehicle at that point.
Correct.
Grounds.
His
I'll
answer
address-
was- Thank you.
Correct.
So when you were clearing the vehicle, would it be fair to say that you could have done the same investigational work at that time?
No, that would not be fair to say.
And why not?
Because when you're clearing a vehicle to ensure that there are no threats to you, you're not looking for anything specific as far as evidentiary value. You're looking for a threat to your person.
So you would clear the vehicle of threats after being in the vehicle to do that, and then go back into the vehicle and look for, or start investigating rather.
Correct.
Why not do them all at once? Is that a procedural thing or
Asked and answered, Your Honor, I object.
grounds?
Sustained. Next question.
Is it usually procedure to investigate later on after clearing for threats?
Yes, you always want to ensure that where you're working on an investigation is clear of threats and that you are safe.
Would that be the same protocol if you were searching a home?
Objection relevance.
Grounds?
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain?
Relevance.
And you made mention that the vehicle wasn't, I guess I would say, touched or between the time that you were flagged down with the location of the vehicle until you actually observed the vehicle, you stated that you don't believe the vehicle was touched in any way in that time?
Objection, that's a misstatement of his testimony. Your Honor.
Grounds, you said something similar to that.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
Are you sure that the vehicle was not touched in the time that you were flagged down about the location of the possible vehicle and observing the vehicle?
I am unaware if the vehicle was manipulated in any fashion from the time that Mr. Lascano flagged me down and to the time that I located the vehicle in the driveway.
Do you know approximately how long it took you to get to the vehicle when you were initially flagged down about the location of the vehicle?
I do not know how long it took me to get to the vehicle upon being flagged down.
So it's possible that it could have been manipulated.
Yes, it's possible.
At the time that you located the vehicle, were you aware of any suspect identification or name?
Can you restate your question, please?
At the time you located the vehicle, were you aware of any suspect or name of suspect?
No, I was unaware of any names of any suspect involved in the incident at the time I located the vehicle.
And when did you learn of that information, if you learned of that information?
I only learned the information of a possible suspect upon locating the identifying documents inside the vehicle and subsequently providing that information to dispatch.
At the time you found that information, did you immediately regard that information to be the possible suspect?
Yes, since it was in the vehicle that was heavily damaged, the red Ford Escape with the bullet hole in the windshield, yes, I believe that that information indeed belonged to a suspect.
And at some point you ran the license plates number. Would that be fair to say?
Correct, I did.
And you also stated that it was registered to someone that was not the suspect. Would that be fair to say?
As far as I know at that, or I'm sorry, as far as I knew at that time, I did not know if the person registered the vehicle to was a suspect or not.
You also stated that you found identifying paperwork in your investigation of the vehicle. Did that information match the identity of who the vehicle was registered to?
No, the identifying information, again, for Mr. Brooks that was inside the vehicle did not match the registration on file with the Wisconsin Department of Transportation for the registration of the vehicle, which was Don L. Woods.
For the record, I don't identify by that name. Yet again, stating that for the record.
For the record, the jury will disregard that commentary by the defendant, and it also mischaracterizes the witness's testimony.
It does not. I was just stating for the record.
Again, the jury will disregard that
So-
commentary as Mr. Brooks is not presently testifying.
The information you found in the car, the vehicle was not registered to that person, correct?
That's correct.
So there's a possibility that at any time, multiple people can utilize that vehicle. Would that be fair to say?
Objection, speculation.
Grounds.
Calls for speculation. Sustained.
Would you agree that a vehicle registered to one person and information found by another person constitutes that more than one person used the vehicle?
Objection.
Grounds.
Go ahead.
The question was, does that prove that more than one person could drive the car? That's an improper question.
That wasn't the question.
Well, sustained as to the form of the question and assumes facts, not in evidence.
State that last part again.
It assumes facts, not in evidence, your question. Your next question, please.
Is it fair to say that people leave all types of informations in family members' vehicles at any time.
Objection,
Grounds.
irrelevant, speculation.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain.
Ask your next question, Mr. Brooks, please.
May I have the grounds, please?
The objection has been sustained. Ask your next question, please.
May I have the grounds?
The court's not answering that. The record is self-evident.
Is that a tacit agreement?
Here's what I found.
Sir, I don't know what a tacit agreement is, so please keep going.
Clearly know what it is. Would it be fair to say, and this is along the lines of the same question, would it be fair to say that at some point you've left items in other people's vehicles?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain?
Next question, please, sir. I've sustained this question multiple times, multiple
wasn't
ways
the
you've
same
asked it.
question.
Next question, please.
May I have the grounds?
90611, sir.
May I have the grounds?
Next question, please.
Is it to relevancy? Is it to hearsay?
Under 90611, ask your next question or I will cut off your cross-examination. Please ask your next question,
You
sir.
have to give the grounds, though, Your Honor. Especially if I'm really just asking for the grounds of the sustain.
Sir, ask your next question.
What's the point of me asking questions if I can't ask anything?
The jury will disregard his commentary that he just stated right now.
Do you recall speaking to, you said you spoke to a few people you didn't know if they were the owner of the house or the driveway or the renter. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, that's correct.
Did anyone you spoke to give you a description of a possible driver?
I was given multiple descriptions by multiple parties of multiple suspects that had fled the vicinity of the vehicle.
And what do you mean by multiple descriptions of multiple suspects? 2, 3, 4 people, 5?
I was given information that one male black suspect that was taller, wearing blue pants and black, had run southbound on Maple towards College. Additionally, I was given information that 2 shorter male blacks wearing gray sweatpants had run in a westerly direction from behind the residence at 338 Maple. And then later I was also given another description of a male black, unknown height, wearing like a gray sweatshirt and pants.
You said medium height for the last description?
Unknown height.
Unknown. Okay, I'm sorry. Unknown height. Did anyone you talked to report the sound of a crash?
No, no one I spoke to at this location reported anything regarding the sound of a crash.
Did you see any signs that there may have been a crash once you and other officers were securing the area?
As far as the vicinity around the vehicle or the vehicle itself?
The general area.
As far as the general area, given the time of day, I was unable to determine if there was any signs of a crash in that vicinity.
When talking to the people that you while talking to the people that gave you the descriptions, did they identify themselves as living close or living in any of the houses in that area?
No, due to the chaotic nature of the event, I did not ascertain where these individuals lived or if they were associated with any neighboring residents.
Do you know if they made any other statements to any other law enforcement that was there present with you at that time?
Not to my knowledge.
Why do you think you received so many different descriptions of suspects?
Multiple people from multiple angles observed different things, and there was a lot of people there. It was a very chaotic event. Even this particular scene was chaotic and hectic with numerous people coming to and from, so it was difficult to determine that information.
Did any of the people that you spoke with give any reason to why the suspects that they identified would run from the scene?
Objection. Speculation
Grounds.
also calls for hearsay.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds.
Next question, sir.
Do you recall any of the officers that were securing the scene with you having a K-9 present?
Yes, I do.
And do you recall what officer that was?
That was Officer Bausman, who was a K-9 handler with the City of Waukesha Police Department.
And eventually you left the scene where the vehicle was found and started searching the area?
Yes, I transferred command of that location to Officer Butron, had him remain at that scene for scene security with additional City of Brookfield officer, and then myself, K-9 Officer Bausman, and numerous other police officers from various departments conducted an area search as we were conducting a K-9 track, based on the information I had obtained of multiple suspects running from the area.
And do you recall what time you went back to where you initially observed the vehicle?
I do not recall what time I made it back, but it was some hours later.
And did you go back to your department after leaving from the scene where you found the vehicle?
Yes, I was directed by my command staff to return to the police department as the scene was still secured by other law enforcement officers of various agencies.
And were you instructed to make contact with anyone at that point?
Yes, I was.
Do you recall who?
I do.
May you state for the jury and for the record?
Yes, upon arrival to the police department, I was directed to make contact with District Attorney Sue Opper.
And when you say Sue Opper, are you referring to District Attorney Sue Opper?
Yes, that's what I said.
Is she here in court today?
Yes, she is.
Can you point her out for the jury?
She's seated at the prosecution table wearing the gray cardigan.
Let the record reflect that the witness has identified Attorney Opper.
No objection, Your Honor.
The record will so reflect.
And do you recall what the nature of the contact was with Attorney Opera?
Yes, I was directed to locate Attorney Opper in the downtown area at the scene of the parade incident and subsequently transport her back to the City of Waukesha Police Department.
So I'm assuming make contact with her at the parade, so you went and picked her up?
That's correct. I picked her up in the area of Maple in Wisconsin. Correction, I'm sorry. The area of Maple and Main Street.
And did you continue that contact after picking her up? And let me back up. Where did you go after picking up Attorney Opera?
As I stated, once I picked her up, I transported her back to the City of Waukesha Police Department.
And did you continue to have contact at that point?
I did.
And what was the nature of that contact?
District Attorney Opper and I worked together to draft a search warrant for the 2010 red Ford Escape SUV that was in the driveway of 338 Maple Street.
You said a search warrant?
Correct.
Initially, when you secured the vehicle and then investigated the vehicle after securing it, what did you need to search for at that point that you needed a search warrant?
After I cleared the vehicle and located those items of identifying nature, that was done due to the exigency of the event and identifying any outstanding suspects. After that was done and photographed in place, I resecured the vehicle and it was no longer touched at that point. So therefore, later on, it was required to have a search warrant to continue processing that vehicle for items of evidentiary value.
So you just stated that the vehicle wasn't touched between those times. So what if anything new, did you need to search for?
Objection, argumentative.
Wow.
Overruled. He may answer.
The basis of the search warrant was to ensure that, again, any items of evidentiary value I may have overlooked due to, again, the exigency of trying to find identifying information of an outstanding suspect, as well as clearing the vehicle for safety reasons. That is the purpose of the search warrant, is to do a more slow, methodical search of the vehicle for said items of evidentiary value.
But it would be fair to say that after initially clearing the vehicle, for, as you said, for any possible threats to you, and investigating the vehicle further a second time, what did you feel would be of evidentiary value at that point that you hadn't already observed before?
Objection, asked and answered.
Grounds.
Argumentative.
Grounds. I'm referring to him stating the evidentiary value.
Asked and answered. Sustained.
So what was the evidentiary value that you were looking for
Same objection.
with the search warrant?
It's the same question a different way, so I'm going to sustain it. It's been asked, it's been answered. Next question, please.
Can you give an example of what evidentiary value is?
Something of evidentiary value can really be anything that's pertinent to the case. An example would be like a shell casing or a spot of blood that can render DNA results, things of that nature.
Did you find any of those things when obtaining the search warrant?
Objection.
Grounds.
Well, that's factually inaccurate, Your Honor.
It assumes a fact, not an evidence. I'll sustain the objection as to the form of the question.
Did you find, upon obtaining the search warrant, were you able to find anything of evidentiary value?
Same objection, assumes
Grounds.
a fact, not an evidence, Your Honor.
Sustained. It assumes facts, not an evidence. Please rephrase and establish a foundation related to whether this witness performed that subsequent search.
After obtaining the search warrant, did you yourself go back and search the vehicle?
No.
Do you recall what officer was dispatched to do to execute the search warrant?
No, I do not know who ultimately searched the vehicle for items of evidentiary value.
Do you recall if the vehicle was then towed from that area at some point?
Yes, the vehicle was removed at some point. I do not know when or by whom.
Do you recall where it was moved to?
I do not know where the vehicle was moved to.
You stated earlier that you did observe a gunshot in the windshield. Did you notice any other bullet marks?
No, the only mark that I observed related to a gunshot was the bullet hole in the windshield on the passenger side.
And was that, you said on the passenger side, was it to the passenger side window, the passenger side chair, the passenger side dash? Do you recall where the bullet hole was?
As I previously stated, it was in the windshield, front windshield, on the passenger side.
Were you at any time given a copy of the search warrant?
Yes, upon completion of the search warrant, I was given a copy. The original went over to the command center.
Is it standard protocol that, being that you were the one that obtained the search warrant, is it usually a thing where you don't have to be the one to execute it? Any other officer can execute it?
Based on the requirement of the search warrant to process this vehicle for items of evidentiary value, that's beyond the scope of my training and experience. So therefore, it was relayed to persons that are capable of actually doing that.
But you can, you said it's beyond your level or something. I didn't catch where you said it was beyond your level or something.
It's beyond my scope of training and experience.
Beyond your scope of training. The actual writing of the search warrant isn't above your scope and training. Would that be fair to say?
That's correct.
But the execution is.
Of this particular search warrant, yes.
What made this particular search warrant different than any ones you've ever written or obtained before?
This particular search warrant was for a search of the vehicle involved in the Christmas parade incident. And given the gravity of the situation and the resulting effects of what this vehicle was used for, persons that are highly skilled in collecting items of evidentiary value are obviously the people we want to do that rather than a patrol officer.
And you were able to get that search warrant signed, correct?
That's correct.
Do you remember by whom?
Yes.
Can you state for the record and for the jury?
At that time of the search warrant, the on-call judge was contacted, and the on-call judge was the Honorable Jennifer DARRELL.
That would be the judge right now in the courtroom.
Yes, that's correct.
Did that complete your part of the investigation for that incident at that time?
Yes, upon getting the search warrant, I was relieved of my duties.
Did you ever come back into the investigation in any way after that point?
After that point, no.
After your part of the investigation ended, were you able to obtain any more information that you didn't know the night of your investigation?
Objection, vague,
Grounds.
cause for speculation.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain, Your Honor.
Please ask your next question.
Do you recall having any more contact with Attorney Opper after that initial night?
No.
When were you aware that it was a possibility that you could be called to testify in this matter?
When I received a subpoena to testify in this manner.
Excuse me, I didn't.
When I received a subpoena to testify in this manner.
Was that subpoena served to you by the district attorney's office?
Yes, it was.
Was it served by Attorney Opper?
I don't recall who served me directly. I believe it was via electronic.
Do you recall when you received that subpoena?
I don't recall the exact date, but it was a few months ago.
So it's pretty recent, but a little time since you received it.
Yes, that's fair to say.
Would you by chance know who the plaintiff is in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Ever seen or talked to the plaintiff? Had any physical interaction with the plaintiff in this matter?
Objection, vague and compound
Grounds.
question.
Sustained.
You even know if there's a plaintiff in this matter?
Objection,
Grounds.
irrelevant.
Sustained.
You know who filed the complaint in this matter?
The complaint was filed by the district attorney's office.
Do you know if it was filed by Attorney Opper?
I don't know particularly who filed the complaint. I just know it was by the Waukesha County District Attorney's Office.
And during your time in law enforcement, would it be fair to say that whoever files the complaint is a party to the matter?
Objection,
Grounds.
beyond the scope of the witness's knowledge,
Grounds.
Your Honor.
Sustained. Next question. please.
Grounds for the sustain, Your Honor.
Next question, please.
Any reason why the state of Wisconsin would be identified as the plaintiff when they did not file the complaint?
Objection, argumentative, misstatement of the law.
Grounds.
Sustained.
Grounds for the sustain, Your Honor.
Ask your next question, please.
Was that the grounds?
Next question, please.
The jury deserves to know this.
The jury will disregard that last statement.
They need to know.
I've sustained the objection, sir. Ask your next question, please.
I'm aware that it was a sustain. I'm aware. I just wanted to know the grounds. You can't keep hiding stuff from the jury.
Mr. Brooks, the court is not hiding anything from anyone, and the jury will disregard that last statement. It is not evidence in any way in this case.
Would it be fair to say that any case has a plaintiff?
Objection.
Grounds.
Lack of foundation beyond the scope of the witness's knowledge.
Sustained.
Would it be? Can I rephrase the question?
Go ahead. I can't say whether it will be answered or not, but you can go ahead and rephrase it.
I can't rephrase, just so we're clear. Whether it's answered or not, I can still rephrase the question.
I don't know what the question will be, sir, so I can't make a ruling that's advisory. So ask your next question, please.
Are you aware that in any case brought into a courtroom, there has to be a plaintiff?
Objection.
Grounds.
Same question.
Grounds is
It
not
also
the same
misstates
question.
the law, so sustained.
If there's no plaintiff, how's there a case?
Move to strike.
The jury will disregard the last comment and statement made by Mr. Brooks.
Grounds. If there's a
It's a
defendant, there has to be a
misstatement of the
plaintiff.
law. It's not relevant. This jury will be the judge of the facts. The court is the judge of the law. Please continue, sir, or under 906.11, I will stop the cross-examination.
If there's a defendant, there has to be a plaintiff.
Mr. Brooks, please stop. The jury will also disregard that statement. It's a mischaracterization of the law. It's a misstatement of the law.
Based on what law or fact, Your Honor?
And I'll address that with Mr. Brooks once again after the jury has been excused. One final time, you may ask another question. Otherwise, I will, and it must not be along the same lines, or under 906.11, I will ask the state whether there's any redirect.
Do you know of anyone who filed a claim in this matter?
Objection.
Grounds.
Irrelevant.
Grounds.
It's also vague, so I'll sustain it.
So the grounds is vagueness.
And relevance.
Is it vague or is it relevant?
Sustained, Mr. Brooks. Next question.
So since your initial night of investigation, you've done no investigation since then in this matter?
Correct.
And have you seen any news reports?
Objection.
Re-
Relevance.
Can I finish the question?
You can, there's been no identification, so under 906.11, meaning of, I'm going to sustain the objection without hearing the rest of the question. I don't see how it would have any relevance. I'll let you make an offer of proof after we're outside the presence of the jury, and if necessary, you can recall this witness. Next question.
In that case, then, since that is stated on the record, no further questions. I would like to finish at some point.
Sir, finish your cross-exam as to
Just
that
said
limited.
no further questions.
Okay, but as to that limited topic only. So if there are other things outside that topic, please finish your questioning.
I just said 2 times. I'm going to say it again. No further questions.
All right, thank you then, sir. State have any redirect?
No, nothing else. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. You may be excused. I'm going to excuse the jury momentarily to take up a legal issue with the parties, and hopefully we'll have you brought back out shortly. You can use this opportunity for a comfort break, though. Please be seated. You may make an offer of proof, sir, as it relates to why or what questions and what information you believe this officer would provide about news reports that he has seen.
So the offer of proof would just be to that one question.
What would the question be?
The question was, would have been, if I was allowed to finish it, had he seen any news reports directly connected to the incident?
But what's the relevance?
The same
for
thing.
him?
The same thing that many other witnesses have been asked, and it was never sustained. Then it was never even objected to. So it was the same. It was
Let's
essentially
focus
one
on
of the same
the
questions.
specific objection that was posed and my
And what was the grounds for
willingness
it?
to give you an opportunity to provide the court with an offer of proof. This was what relevance would this particular witness seeing news reports have to his testimony?
The same thing that any other witness that was asked the same question.
Which would be what? You have to be specific, sir.
I
I'm not
was
gonna
specific. Have they
assume I
saw-
understand what you are saying.
Have they saw any reports related to the incident? That's the same question that's been asked by numerous
Well, there would
witnesses.
be a follow-up to that. So how is it relevant to this witness's testimony?
It's relevant to anyone who gets on the stand's testimony.
What's the legal basis you believe it's relevant to his testimony, sir?
It obviously forms an opinion.
Again, you need to explain to me, sir, the legal basis why you believe I should allow that witness to be asked that question and then any follow-up based on his response.
What would have been the follow-up?
I'm asking you, sir,
asked and it would
you're
have got
the one
answered.
who's the proponent of this particular testimony and this questioning and the evidence. So explain to me your legal basis for why you believe it's relevant to ask, or any other reason, any legal basis you believe it's that I should allow that question to be asked.
I don't understand how you want me to answer that. I've stated the reason why I asked the question.
No, you stated it's obvious, but it's not obvious to me, so I'm asking you to explain it.
I also stated that I just clearly stated that it goes towards biasness.
I'm
that
sorry,
would
it goes
be
to
relevant.
what? Wait, it goes to what?
Biased.
Bias?
Biased.
No, bias. B-I-A-S. There's no T at the end. Bias. I want to make sure I understand your
now it's
reasoning
about
correctly,
how I
sir.
correct
So
something.
it's
How-
you're
now
saying
something.
it goes to bias. How does it go to bias of this witness, sir?
How would it not go to if you see something in the news?
It's not a proper legal argument, sir.
Okay, well, I don't know how you want me to answer
How
that.
would what he saw subsequent to his investigation impact either what he did beforehand or his testimony here? You have to make an offer of proof as to that. Without that, I'm not going to allow it.
You didn't allow it anyway, so what do it matter at this point?
I'm giving you the opportunity. It's called an offer of proof.
Okay,
I said I would recall the
I'm
witness
well aware,
if I
I'm
determine.
well aware what an offer of proof is.
Okay,
I'm well aware.
so make your offer of proof.
I don't need to. It's clear. It's very clear. I don't see anything funny either.
It's not funny, sir. It's a circular argument. You're telling me that it's
I
clear.
wasn't referring that to you. The person that it was referred to know who they are.
Well, let's stay on task, please. So
I'm trying to.
you're
but it's
claiming
hard.
it goes to bias.
May I
But
say this?
in what
May I say
way?
this for the record, Your Honor? It's hard to stay on task when it seems like the prosecution can ask essentially anything they want to ask.
Mr. Brooks,
But then when I object-
I had an
Wait.
objection before. Well, here's the thing: you want to go off target, and you want
It's
to
not
bring
off
up
target.
things from the past. I can't explain to you why sometimes the state has an objection and other times they don't. But
That's not what I asked.
when an objection has been made, it is my obligation to rule on it. And so there was an objection.
I'm aware of that, Your Honor. But I'm also aware of the fact, and it's clear that I object quite often, and every single time I object it's just thrown to the side every single time.
Well, I would disagree with that characterization, sir.
And why
I
would
make
you
my
disagree with
rulings
that?
in this
Why would
case
you disagree
based.
with that?
I'm like
Can
an
you point out
umpire.
one time
like an umpire in a baseball game, sir. I call and see the legal objections as I see them. That is my role, and that is what I do. And
Are you kidding me?
that's exactly
Your
what I
Honor.
do. I'm an umpire, sir.
Your Honor.
I am a referee in this trial.
If you're the umpire,
And let me
with custody-
finish.
Okay.
Let me finish,
Okay.
Mr. Brooks.
I
Okay?
apologize. I'm letting
So-
you finish.
Sometimes parties make objections, sometimes they don't. There can be a variety of reasons. You make a lot of objections in this case. From my perspective, okay, you make a number of objections, I rule on them, and you disagree with them. But that doesn't mean I'm casting things aside. I'm making a call based on the rules of evidence. So, for example, if there's a relevance objection, I'm going to analyze that, okay, based on the objection that's been made. Sometimes I might think there's another basis for something to either come in or not come in. But my rule book, okay, is the rules of evidence, which are the statutes, which once again, I'll point out, I gave you, sir, near the beginning of this trial, so that you would have a better understanding of what those rules are. If you choose not to read them, that's fine. But you cannot then claim that there is somehow foul play because you haven't read them and you don't understand what they are. Your ignorance of the law is not a defense for any of this. Okay? And you getting frustrated with me because you don't understand that, I mean, it's just what it is. But I'm calling these legal shots as I see them. And I've asked you repeatedly for an offer of proof. You want to ask this witness who had limited involvement regarding a part of an investigation related to that vehicle. I don't see the relevance, even to bias, for which I will allow him to answer that. You haven't given me a legal or factual reason to overrule the objection and to bring the witness back on the stand and to question him about his viewing of any news reports. So with that, we are going to take a very short break. The jury's been out for a little bit, but I recognize it's 3:25. It will be a good opportunity for a comfort break, and when we come back on, the state should be prepared to call the next witness.
Can I at least rebuttal to what you just said since you asked
I don't
me
need
not
a
to
rebuttal, sir. You may not agree with me, but I've made
It's not
my
about agreeing.
record.
You just told me not to interrupt you, and I didn't. So I at least deserve the chance to put on the record a rebuttal.
What would you like to put on the record as it relates to the specific issue for which I was giving you the opportunity to be heard? Not anything else, not subject matter jurisdiction, not
Now you
whether
said
the
that.
state's doing
I
other
didn't even bring
things.
that
I'm
up, Your Honor.
only asking you to address the offer of proof.
No,
if
I
you
wanna-
have something, go ahead. But
I wanna-
only as it relates
I
to
want to
that.
address your position because you said you're like the umpire, right?
Well, I'm not getting. Okay, go ahead, sir. I'm not sure why you need to respond
Because-
to that.
Because it needs to be on the record. If you're the umpire, that means you're the referee.
That's what I'm doing here today, sir.
And when you're not reffing fair if the jury's not allowed to hear things that's important for them to know.
I respectfully disagree, sir. Again, just because you believe the law means you have a right to question all these witnesses about who the plaintiff is and about subject matter jurisdiction doesn't
I didn't question
make it
anybody
so.
about that.
Okay?
That was
it doesn't make
between
it
you
so.
and I. That didn't have nothing to do with a witness. I've
You
never
want to
once
question
questioned a
these
witness
witnesses,
about subject
sir,
matter
about
jurisdiction.
whether they are aware of complaints. And the funny thing is, sir, I sometimes let that question be answered for reasons that are completely different, I believe, than why you want them in. I am not going to explain that because I don't have to
You can't
explain
say
that.
what's my reason for asking it.
Well, I believe you've made it very clear, sir. So here's the bottom line.
I don't.
One of my roles is to be the umpire.
Then you got to
All
be
right?
fair, Your Honor. You're a public
I
servant.
am fair, and I'm
No,
going
you're
to follow
not.
the
You're not
rules
being
of
fair.
evidence,
Your
sir.
Honor,
that
this is
doesn't
why I
mean
say that.
unfettered questioning
This is
of
why I say that.
witnesses that are not relevant or that call for hearsay, or for a variety of other reasons that are speculative. There's a whole host of reasons in the rules of evidence, sir, that require me to make those determinations.
You're not being
I
fair.
respect
You're not
that
being
you
fair,
might
though.
not think it's always fair, but
It's
I
not.
disagree with the characterization. I think it has more to do with your lack of understanding of the rules of evidence and the rules of procedure, which you knowingly and freely and voluntarily and deliberately made a choice to represent yourself. And
And
as
you keep
I
saying
warned
that
you at
because
that
it sounds
time,
good
sir,
on the
you did
record,
that
but
at
it's
your
not.
peril.
It's not accurate. You accept it when you gave me the paperwork, Your Honor. I gave it back to
I'm
you.
not going in. I didn't say that, sir, so we can go back and rehash all of those things.
But you know you accepted
All right.
the way that I gave you the paperwork back. So once
And I
you
made
accept
findings
that,
on the record, which I will stand by, sir. So
and I'm not,
with that,
I'm not
we're going to
arguing.
take.
I'm not arguing your findings.
I
I'm
need
not
a comfort
arguing
break.
the findings,
I'm sure
Your Honor.
you need a comfort.
More witness today?
I would like to get through one more.
You got it.
witness today.
You got
Thank
it. You got to
We're
call
off
it
the
fair.
record, sir.
You got. Is that verified proof that you have subject matter jurisdiction?
The decision and order speaks for itself, sir.
Is it verified proof that you have it?
Sir, I believe it answers your questions.
I don't believe so.
unequivocally.
There's no verified proof proven yet.
Yeah, it's the same.
There's no verified proof if we're in common law or admiralty law. What court is this?
Sir, I believe your answers will be in that decision and order.
I don't believe so.
Well, have you read it yet?
I don't have to.
Okay.
I accept
they're
it
in
for
there.
value in return for value. So
All right, they're in there, sir. It's a final order for
verified
purposes
proof
of
is in
appeal.
there. Verified proof
So
is in
if
there.
you'd like to challenge that, you can take that up with the appellate courts.
Verified proof is in there.
All rise.
Because I don't think it is. Proof of claim is not in there either. No one has a claim.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Statement called. Next witness.
State calls Carlos Arachiga.
All right, good afternoon. Mr. Arachiga, if you would please make your way to the witness stand. It is all the way up near me, to the right of me. It is up one riser. When you get there, please remain standing. Raise your right hand, and my clerk, Teresa, will swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Please have a seat. First thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
My name is Carlos Arachiga Nolasco is my second last name. Carlos, Carlos, and then Arechiga, Arachiga, and then Nolasco, Nolasco.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. Sir, back in November of 2021, were you living here in the city of Waukesha?
Yes.
What was your home address on November 21st of 2021?
338 Maple Avenue, second unit or upper unit.
Okay, that's a duplex?
It's a duplex, yeah.
Were you home at 338 Maple in the upper unit on the afternoon of that day, the 21st?
Yes.
Do you recall at some point hearing a noise or something that was out of place outside of your window?
Yeah, during that time I was sitting down, and to my left is a window that looks down to the driveway, and when I was sitting down I heard like a big scratch, sort of kind of like just a rough scratch of either metal or whatever. And as soon as I look out, because the window's right there, I just peeped open the blinds, and I was able to see that there was a vehicle that I had never recognized. And as soon as I looked over, I was able to see just somebody being able to get just jump over the hood of the car, kind of dash away. And when I saw the car, I just saw that it was really beat up. And my first instinct was, like, who is this? I hope our cars are okay. Wasn't really sure what was going on. Sorry.
Cut you off there. Could you describe the vehicle for us that you saw in the driveway?
It was a red vehicle, SUV, bigger, not a sedan, not a truck, not a pickup truck. It was just a red SUV.
When you looked out your second-story window at the driveway and you saw the vehicle, at that time, could you see whether there was any damage to the vehicle?
Yeah.
Actually, I answered that already.
Overruled.
Said it was
May
beat up.
answer.
Yeah, I saw damage to the vehicle. It was mostly at the hood of the car. You can see damage to the front windshield as well. I was able to even see sort of kind of like a lit up headband on the rear view mirror or the side view mirror, kind of hanging right about, kind of inside or on it, I guess you can say.
Okay. When you looked out the window, had the SUV already come to a stop, or was it still moving?
It was at a complete stop when I looked out the window.
The person you described earlier, where did you first see that person?
Already outside of the vehicle, like I said, jumping out mostly over the hood of the car. And as soon as that happened, I instinctively kind of just shut down the blind. And since we live in a duplex, I thought it was somebody from downstairs that maybe crashed into one of our cars. Maybe they caused an accident, and I tried contacting the people downstairs right away. So I wasn't really in much of a threat, I guess you can say, but I was just confused at the moment.
Okay. We'll come back to that. I want to ask you a couple more questions about this person that you saw. Was this person directly below you in your vantage point, or was it off to the side?
It was more.
Relevancy.
Overruled. He may answer.
It was more towards the side. Wasn't really below me. Sort of leaving my point of view from the window.
Did you see what direction that person went after they jumped over the hood of the SUV?
It would have been sort of straight ahead, kind of towards the left of the driveway, so I couldn't see them anymore. We have two windows, one in the bedroom, one in the living room, and if I was in the bedroom, I would have been able to see exactly where they went, but they just went left from my point of view.
So would that have been toward or away from Maple?
Objection,
that would
being
have
the
been.
witness.
Hold on. If there's an objection, wait until I rule on it. And overruled, the witness may answer.
It was towards Maple Avenue.
Did you see that person reach Maple Avenue?
No.
Why not?
The point of view from the window doesn't really let me see towards Maple Avenue or Maple Avenue altogether.
Okay. After the person went out of your field of view, is that when you tried to contact your downstairs neighbor?
Yeah, because I assumed that it was maybe somebody they invited over because I really didn't recognize the person, and I tried contacting them to make sure they knew who it was or who the person was.
From the moment you first looked out your window and saw that SUV until the moment that the person we've been talking about went out of your field of view, did you see any other people outside your window?
No.
Did you at some point go downstairs to investigate?
Yeah, that was during me going downstairs. I was trying to contact the people downstairs because they always invite people over, and that was a vehicle I've never seen in my life. So I assumed maybe it was one of their friends, somebody. So when I went downstairs, I sort of came to the front of the vehicle. I was able to see the damage up front. The hood was really beat up. You could see it steaming a little bit. So when I contacted the neighbors, one of them actually told me that they'll ask around. He came back to me. He said, that's nobody's car. They all came out. We were all kind of surrounding it, and we were still confused as to why the car was there. And at that same time, when we were looking at the damage of the vehicle, people were leaving downtown Waukesha from Maple Avenue from the library going the other way. And some of them were running. Some of them looked scared. Some of them what's it called? One of them told us to call the cops. We were kind of confused as to why, and well, mostly because we saw the vehicle, and we tried not touching it. We tried just leaving it be. One of the people from downstairs called the cops, and we waited a little bit. And as soon as the cops showed up, they told us to go back inside, and I was sort of inside for the rest of the afternoon until the car was removed.
When you first started standing around the vehicle with the other people you talked about, do you remember approximately how many people were standing around the SUV?
It would have been the three main neighbors that we have from downstairs, two of their girlfriends, I believe, and then two of their other friends would have maybe been around like 6, 7. And then my mom was also down with me, and then I was there with her. But yeah, we tried not really interacting with the vehicle. We were telling everybody not to interact with it.
And was it at that time, while you were standing with those people around the SUV, that you saw other people running down Maple?
Yes.
And what direction were they running?
They were heading towards the restaurant La Estacion, heading towards kind of like the train tracks, leaving from the library from Maple Avenue.
So would that be running north or running south?
I guess if you're looking at downtown Waukesha, I guess that would be north. Right? I guess if south is heading towards downtown, north would be heading away from it.
Okay, let's put up. Can we please display for the witness only exhibit number 130?
Go ahead.
And can we zoom in on the right middle of the screen?
Objection. What's the relevancy?
Well, I'm going to ask you to show the witness a map that does not have the annotations. So I'll sustain your objection. Do you want to tell me when to turn it back on?
Sure.
Okay.
Objection. What's being looked up that's not already in the exhibit? Look like something was being looked up. Via,
I can't answer that question. I don't know.
is it an exhibit? Is it
Looking
a,
for an,
I guess my objection would be: is there an exhibit being shown, or is there being
There's
something
nothing
shown?
shown to the witness right now. It's off. Was it exhibit 130? It's 130. Was it ever received? Not yet. Okay. So you objected. I sustained the objection. And so I told the state not to show the map with annotations.
Okay.
So whatever they're doing in response to that, I can't answer.
Something popped up on the screen to look like they was trying to Google something, and then now my screen is off now.
It was actually a large common volume.
So that wouldn't be an exhibit.
I didn't see anything, so we can take that up later if need be, but let's keep going with the questioning of the witness, and we can deal with that later, outside the presence of the jury.
Just for the record, I know it's 140 exhibits, so it shouldn't be no more than that. Can't create exhibits right now.
Well, we'll get to any legal issues later, so if the state can continue, please.
I'll try to clear this up without any more exhibits for Mr. Brooks. When you are standing in your driveway facing Maple Avenue, if you wanted to go to downtown Waukesha, would you go left or right?
Left.
Objection. That was asked and answered. He asked north or south, and he already answered that question.
This question has not been asked or answered, so your objection is overruled. The witness may answer.
And I'm sorry, you can answer that again.
It was left. Yeah.
And if you wanted to go to La Estacion or the train tracks, would you go left or right?
It would be right.
So the people who were running past your house on Maple, were they running towards downtown or were they running towards La Estacion?
Towards La Estacion.
Victoria, is there an objection?
Ask and answer.
It was clarification, so his answer may stand. The objection is overruled.
Okay. Now, at the time that you were standing around the SUV with those other people, how much time had gone past between that time and the time that you first heard the noise and looked out your window upstairs?
Objection, relevancy.
Overruled.
I would say that it was maybe around 2 minutes, not even that much, because I still had to get my shoes and everything. I wanted to go downstairs, and at the same time I was texting the neighbor from downstairs. So I would say a little bit of time passed by before I went downstairs.
Okay. Can we please show for everyone exhibit number 65, a video which has previously been received?
Go ahead.
Just wait for a thumbs up from the bailiff. Okay. Do you recognize the area that's depicted in this exhibit?
Yeah.
Tell us what we're looking at here.
Right now we're looking at sort of the side of the building that's from Les Paul that's facing my house and facing Maple Avenue. That house in the corner is my neighbor's house. I know them as the Loxes, and over there to the left where the perimeter of the fence ends, that's my house with the brick sort of kind of pillars and balcony. That'd be my house.
Okay.
So I know I could see what the witness was pointing to.
We're going to have Matt take.
So very well. I just wanted, it's kind of difficult for me to put that on the record. So if you can have some further questioning, that would be good.
Sure. That screen in front of you is a touch screen. As long as you use your
Okay.
finger. Can you circle your house for us?
It would be right here.
And we're at the 0 second timestamp on this, just for the record. And then if we could clear that, please. Now I'm going to ask Ms. Gussie to pull up the zoom tool again. And we've zoomed in on the top left quadrant of this photo, of this video. If we could play here from the beginning.
Objection, what's the relevancy?
Overruled. It's been admitted already. He testified his house is in it.
Pause. At the 27-second mark, we pause there. Sir, do you recall, well, let me just back up there. Did you see on the video there a figure emerging from your driveway?
Yeah.
Could you circle that figure for us?
Right here, and then
Thank you.
right there as well. Yeah.
And what's the second thing you circled?
Just a vehicle.
Okay, let's clear those two circles, please. Does that figure, understanding the limitations of how far away this camera is, does that figure appear to be consistent with the figure you saw hopping over the hood of the SUV?
Objection, speculative.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
At the time of my sort of testimony, when we got a visit from detectives, I told them that I did see a figure. I remember saying that he had a hoodie. At the time, I told them that I wasn't really sure of the color of it, and when I was asked again the next morning, I just told them that maybe it was like a gray, a white, but I told them that maybe it was part of the stuff that I saw on top of the car. I remember seeing scarves on top of the car, that headband that was white with colors. So at the time, it was like a flash, and I was, what's it called? I can see that I was sort of correct because it was a year ago, and when I gave my testimony, I said everything I could, like that I remembered at that time, which was person I saw had a hoodie on. Wasn't really able to see them face to face, but I can see that they were sort of leaving the car, jumping over the hood of the car, and just kind of, yeah.
did not see that person's face.
No.
Okay. Let's play just a couple more seconds here before we hit play, though. I'll just ask you to focus on the figure we've been talking about. And pause. At 31 seconds. Based on what you've seen so far in this exhibit, does that figure appear to be traveling in a path consistent with what you remember?
Yeah.
Objection. Hearsay. You say you can't see the street from the window.
Overruled, he may answer the way that question was phrased.
When I mentioned the direction of the person that I saw leaving, facing my driveway, obviously there's an exit which connects that entryway where all the cars are parked, and then our driveway where our garage is, and sort of the way that I saw the person leaving was towards the left of my field of view, which would be heading towards Maple Avenue.
Okay. I'm now going to show for the witness only, please, exhibit number 66. Do you recognize the photograph on the screen in front of you?
Yeah.
What are we looking at here?
We're looking at the side of my house that faces kind of the other side of Maple Avenue, I guess you can say.
Okay. Are we on the same side of your house as the camera angle from the last exhibit?
No, we're not.
On the other side?
Yeah, the other camera on the school building was facing the right side of the house. This is facing the left side of the house.
Is this how your house appeared on the night of November 21st, 2021?
Yeah.
Move exhibit 66 into evidence and ask to publish.
Exhibit 66 is received. Permission to publish is granted.
Do you see a vehicle in your driveway in this picture?
Yeah, it's the red SUV that I described.
We'll show now for the witness only, please, exhibit number 67. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yeah.
What are we looking at here?
We're looking at my driveway, and then my house is to the right. And sort of, this is kind of like the area that we were sort of looking at the car from. We approached a little bit closer, but that's sort of what I saw that night. That is what I saw that night.
Okay. And actually, Judge, just to be a little more efficient with time, I'm going to move through the rest of these photos and lay the foundation and then move them all in at once.
Go ahead.
That's all right. We'll show the witness only, please, 68. Do you recognize that photograph?
Yeah.
What are we looking at here?
We're looking at the car, or the SUV, sorry, that in my driveway. To the left, you can see a little bit of a kind of like a stump, a log, and I recognize those logs from the backyard of my neighbor's house, and it was sort of dragged all the way to our driveway as well.
We'll show the witness now, exhibit 69, please. What are we looking at in this photograph?
This is the other end of the driveway where all of our cars are. We can see to the left one of our vehicles, the white SUV, and then the two vehicles, the blue SUV, and then the sort of the brown sedan. Both those cars are not mine; they're our neighbors' vehicles. But one of them's in the backyard, and one of them's in the driveway.
Exhibit 70 for the witness only, please. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yeah, that's the other vehicle from our neighbor's house. So all three, those are all their vehicles. And if you look further down, you can see the other set of houses that are what's it called? Or the other set of houses that are on the same street from my neighbor's house. Our backyards connect.
Let's show the witness number 71, please.
Objection. What's the relevancy of all these photos?
Your objection to relevance is noted. It's overruled. Go ahead.
Do you recognize what we're looking at in 71?
Yeah, that house, the White House, or sort of the one that's not to the side, to the right, that's my neighbor's house. And then to the right, that's sort of the back part of our house, first floor.
We show the witness number 72, please. Do you know what we're looking at in this picture?
Yeah, right here, those are sort of some of the logs, or as I mentioned before, one of the logs that one of them was actually dragged into our driveway, and they had a few of them, sort of for, I'm assuming, sitting down, and this whole area was kind of messed up. This part of the yard is not our part of the yard; it's our neighbor's yard. But they had logs over there, and they were kind of just as decoration. And looking at this area, when we went to go see, one of them was missing, and everything else was kind of beat up in that part of the yard.
And finally, 73 for the witness only, please. You recognize what we're looking at here in exhibit? I'm sorry, there's an objection.
Where's the relevancy of this? Where we're looking at?
Your objection is noted. It's overruled. I believe the witness is going to explain.
You can see sort of remains of like some of those logs that they, or like those stumps of logs that they had, and seems to be a car part from the vehicle as well.
Okay. Do exhibits 67 through 73 accurately portray your driveway, your backyard, and your neighbor's backyard as they looked the night of November 21st?
Yeah.
And you went outside and looked at these things yourself, correct?
Yeah, I did. Before the cops sort of arrived, when we were sort of hovering around the car, and my neighbors were contacting the police, I was trying to see if any damage was done to our vehicles, because that was our main concern, since we had no idea what happened with the parade or anything. We just tried to go see what happened to our driveway, what we needed to worry about, but yeah.
I move exhibits 67 through 73 into evidence and request permission to publish.
Objection. No relevancy.
Court notes the objection. It's overruled. Exhibits 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, and 73 are all received. Permission to publish granted.
Okay, we'll start publishing number 67, please.
Can the jury let me know if the monitors are on in front of you? Not yet? Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. So you previously testified about what's in this photo. That's the red SUV we've been talking about, correct?
Yeah.
And we are facing, if you're the person taking the picture right now, are you facing towards Maple or away?
Away from Maple Avenue.
Okay. Let's take a look at 68, please. This is just a close-up view of that red SUV.
Yeah.
Objection. Leading.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
What is this?
It is the red SUV in my driveway, all beat up.
And you referenced a stump earlier when you were describing this photograph. Can you point that out for us? Maybe circle it for us?
Objection. Relevancy as to a stump. What does that have to do with?
Overruled. The witness may answer.
That stump of log would be sort of on that part of the picture.
The left side of the picture?
Yeah, the left side of the picture.
Can we please clear that, Madam Clerk? Was that stump in that position in your driveway before you saw this red SUV?
Objection. No. Relevancy.
Overruled. It's relevant. The witness may answer.
No.
Okay, let's take a look at Exhibit 69, please. So what direction have we moved as we go from Exhibit 68 to 69?
We have moved more back of the driveway. We have moved looking, instead of the left side of the house, we're looking at the left back side of the house.
So we're moving away from Maple?
We're moving away from Maple Avenue.
Okay, and you already talked about these three cars. Can you just remind us what these three cars are?
that white SUV, that's one of our vehicles. The blue SUV is one of my neighbor's vehicles, as well as the brown sedan as well, as we can see from this picture.
Do you know if any of those three vehicles sustained damage on November 21st?
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled, he was asked if he knew, not what he heard.
Objection. Speculation.
Overruled.
From when we were looking back during that area, when we saw our neighbor's yard, when we saw everything, I couldn't really see like damage right away from any of our vehicles. However, it's not in this image. It's in the other image that I was shown earlier. There's a black SUV to the right of that brown sedan. That vehicle did have a little bit of a sort of some damage. What's it called? But apart from that, no, everything else was fine.
Let's move on to Exhibit 70, please.
Objection. What's the relevancy of this?
The exhibits have been received, so the state may question the witness on them.
What direction have we moved from the last picture to this picture?
We are now towards the back of my building or my house.
And did the person who took the picture, did we turn to the right or to the left or not at all?
We moved a little bit more towards the left, just getting a better angle of the back side of the house.
But now we're facing to the right?
Yeah, but now we're facing right.
I can rephrase.
Go ahead.
Do you know where Prospect is?
Prospect is it's a one-way street. You can't enter from Maple side, but you can enter from the back side of Prospect.
Do you see a street light in this photograph?
Yes.
What street is that street light on?
That's Prospect.
Okay.
The one-way street.
And the the black SUV you talked about a moment ago, is that in this photograph?
That SUV right there.
That's the SUV you described as having been damaged?
It was honestly not that much, just sort of kind of like the front of the SUV. There was a vehicle, however, if there was another image as well, looking at sort of the area, sort of the path that was between Deluxe's house and the backyard. That one did sustain some scratches.
If we go to the next photograph, Exhibit 71, please. Okay. See the street light again?
Yeah.
Is that the same street light we saw in Exhibit 70?
Objection. Answered that already. Same street light, same question, basically.
Different picture. Your objections noted. It's overruled. The witness may answer.
It is.
Do you see an orange cone in this photograph?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
I do.
What, if anything, do you see in the immediate vicinity of that orange cone?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
In that sort of area, I see the black SUV. Right in front of it, I see some of those stumps of logs that I mentioned before. One that we saw previously was in my driveway, but some of those were kind of left behind but moved from place, from their original spot. Yeah.
Can we zoom in on the middle of this photograph, please? Do you recognize an object within a few inches of that cone?
Objection.
Yeah.
Speculation.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
I do. Well, what's it called? I can see what it is, but I don't personally recognize it.
When you say you don't personally recognize it, what do you mean?
Leading. Objection. Leading.
Overruled. He may answer.
I've never really seen it. It looks to be like a beanie, but I've never really seen it. Our family doesn't own it. We don't own it. It's not ours.
So you've never seen it in that backyard before?
No.
We zoom back out, please, and move to Exhibit 71. Excuse me, 72. These are the stumps you talked about earlier?
Yeah.
What direction is the photographer facing now?
Whereas we were facing sort of turning right, or I guess we were facing the left side of the building. Now we're facing the right side of the building, the same side that the video camera from Les Paul was facing in the previous video.
Okay, where's Prospect in relation to the photographer?
Prospect would be behind the photographer.
Okay. Is this what these stumps looked like earlier in the day on November 21st, before you saw the red SUV?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled.
They do not, no, or they did not. They were set in place on the ground, and they were sort of a little bit more together because they were like a seating area for my neighbors.
Okay. Let's move to Exhibit 73, please. The car part you referenced earlier, is that what we're looking at here?
Yes.
And to your recollection, was that car part in your neighbor's backyard before you saw the red SUV on November 21st?
Objection. Speculation.
Overruled.
No. My neighbor's backyard is pretty well kept up. They have a really nice backyard, and they don't have any garbage, nothing in their backyard.
And we now, so just for the witness, Exhibit 143. You recognize the vehicle in this photograph?
Yeah, this is the vehicle that I mentioned that sustained a little bit more damage, and it was like I mentioned before. It was through the pathway that sort of connected the Locks' house and sort of their collection of their parked vehicles as well.
And where in the vehicle do you see damage? The front, the back, both, or neither?
Leading. Objection.
Overruled. The witness may answer.
It is on the back side of the vehicle, towards the left, or towards the driver's side, back left.
Can we show the witness only, please? Exhibit 144. You recognize this photograph?
Yeah.
You see the same vehicle?
Yes, it is the same vehicle.
And what are we looking at here?
We're looking at now the driver's side still, but the front side of the vehicle.
And now the witness only, please, 145. You recognize that photograph?
Yeah, this is sort of the like I said, the SUV, and to the right of it you can see another car. They have more vehicles sort of parked in that area, and to the left you can see sort of a balcony area. That's sort of like that little area. I guess you can see a little path that connects that sort of driveway or parking area towards their yard. And it's narrow.
Are exhibits 143, 144, and 145 accurate photographs depicting the scene as you recall from that night?
Yeah.
Move exhibits 143, 144, and 145 into evidence and ask to publish.
Objection. Relevancy to this matter.
All right. The exhibits are received. That's 143, 144, 145. Permission to publish is granted.
Okay, we're looking at 143. This is the vehicle you described?
Yeah.
Okay, we've got it up on the juror screens too. Now we'll take a look at 144, please. This is the front of that same vehicle.
Objection. Relevancy to this matter.
Overruled. The exhibits have been received.
It is now. This is the front part of the vehicle, driver's side still, closest to the house.
145, please. The balcony on the left, that's your next door neighbor's house?
Yes, and then to the right of it is one of their vehicles, and to the left is their balcony. We can still see it in a previous image that's facing Prospect as well.
Okay. And this is the same, this Infinity we see in this photograph, that's the same vehicle we saw in the last two photographs?
Objection. Lee.
Overruled. You may answer.
It is, yes.
Prospect is where in relation to the photographer?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled.
The photographer, Prospect is to the back of the photographer.
So if you were to drive a vehicle between that porch and that Infinity vehicle, straight through that alley that we're looking at right now, you would be driving toward or away from your house?
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
Objection. Speculation.
Overruled.
If you're driving in between, if you're driving away from Prospect, in between the balcony, in between the SUV, heading that way, where the camera is facing, you'd be heading towards our backyard, our driveway, or the backside of our driveway.
All right, thank you. That's all I have for this witness.
Thank you. Any cross?
Yep. So seeing the damage to the SUV that was parked in your driveway, it would be fair to say that the hood was pretty jacked up. Would that be fair to say?
If we're talking about the red SUV,
The vehicle in your driveway.
there's multiple vehicles in my driveway.
The one that's specifically in your driveway. In 68, exhibit 68.
We can put that up.
Where is it? 68.
You see it on your screen, Mr. Burke?
Yeah,
Is that the
yes.
one you want him to talk about?
Yes.
Go
yes,
ahead.
yes.
68 is published.
And for the record, I do not identify by that name or consent to being called it. For the record. Can you see it on your screen?
The image I can see two SUVs, our white SUV and then the red SUV that I mentioned is that's pretty well beat up.
It's fair to say that hood is pretty beat up.
You can say, yeah.
And you said you observed the driver of that vehicle jump over the hood?
I wouldn't say necessarily jump over the hood. Like I said, sort of jumping over the hood. You can say kind of leaving, kind of going, sort of. It's a little bit hard to explain, but not necessarily sliding over the hood. Sort of going in front of the vehicle, sort of evading it.
So what would you characterize as a jump?
As a jump, I guess you can say, definition-wise, jumping is just jumping up and down, but colloquially, I guess we can say jumping over the hood of the car. It could be sort of evading the vehicle, going away from it, staying close to it, but sort of still being able to move in a quick fashion.
So would it be safe to say evading the vehicle? Well, let me back up. What do you mean by evading? Would that be trying to distance themselves from the vehicle, or what would you define as evading?
Evading would be sort of trying to get away. So if you have a certain path, you can try to move to the side, step aside, kind of jump over it, I guess you can say. And from the image, we can see that the damage not only is attached to the vehicle, but there's some damage that's sort of spread out from the vehicle as well. So jumping over it, stepping to the side of it, sort of falls within that same definition of jumping over the car, sort of evading it.
So that falls in what your definition of jumped over the hood would mean. Would that be fair to say?
You can say.
And you said at one point, when observing this, you closed the blinds at one point?
Yeah, our blinds are they were closed. We really don't have like anything to look at apart from the building, apart from our driveway. So when I heard the vehicle, or when I heard, obviously I wasn't really sure if it was a vehicle. When I heard the big scratch, sort of a halt, a scratch. As I looked out, as I peeped over the blinds, I was able to see the vehicle, and I was able to see the person sort of evading, jumping over the car, going away from the car.
You said you heard a scratch. What would you define that as?
Obviously, not a scratch that you can say, maybe not like a chalkboard one, but sort of if you can hear maybe like metal or maybe something on concrete. I guess you can define it as a scrape. I guess you can say a little bit better.
Was it a loud crash?
You couldn't really say it was a crash. You can hear the sound that I heard. I defined it as a scratch, or I guess you can say a scrape, because it was.
I'm sorry. You can continue.
Because it was more. It was a little bit longer than just kind of like a big crash and it ended. You can hear something scraping.
So like a scrape.
Yeah.
But not a loud like bang.
Not necessarily, no.
And how long would you estimate you were observing before you closed the blinds?
I would say I would give it like a good 6 seconds. I would say 5 seconds. Yeah, it wasn't that long because, like I mentioned, I thought it was somebody from downstairs. I wasn't really. I was more concerned about what happened in our driveway, just because I wasn't really sure what was going on.
Did anything get damaged in your driveway?
In our driveway, there was, I guess you can say, damage in however you may define it, like that log that we can see in the image was sort of dragged into our driveway. There was oil left in our driveway. There was debris left in our driveway as well. And if you could sort of count our backyard was pretty well beat up, sort of like you can see with our neighbor's backyard. The grass was sort of kind of beat up. Nobody really drives vehicles through that area, so it's pretty well kept.
So it's more like oil, logs, pieces of wood, that sort of thing?
Yeah, things were out of place from when we usually look at our backyard, or how it was that morning.
And you stated that you can tell the general direction of Maple Street from your window, but you can't actually see it?
Yeah.
So that'd be fair to say?
Yeah, because, I know where my house is located, and I know what street it's facing, and I know what street or what is to the left of my house, and I know what's to the right of my house, so I know what general directions are around my house.
So if leaving your driveway, going towards Maple Street, if someone would to go right or left, at that point you wouldn't be able to tell?
If we're speaking specifically from my driveway, if you're heading left away from my driveway, not towards the garage or towards that sort of garage area, if you're heading left, you are heading towards Maple Avenue. There's no other way from it.
And once coming from your driveway, if someone was headed that way, once they got to Maple, would you be able to see them at that point?
Not on Maple Street, no. Like I said, I know where the general direction as to where Maple is, but I can't really directly see Maple Avenue from the window that I was at. The window that's to to the left of my window is sort of closer to that street, but I wasn't there.
And you didn't get a description of the driver.
What was the question? Sorry.
You didn't get a description of the driver.
Of the driver, yeah. When we were questioned, or when I was questioned by the detectives that visited us, I remember giving a good description of the driver. I said that he had a hoodie on. I remember mentioning that it was either a light gray, a white. Like I mentioned before, since it happened in a flash, some of the white that I saw was part of that scarf that you can see on top of the hood. And in a previous image, we can see something hanging from the side view mirror, which is also a white, I guess you can say a white accessory that has sort of like a light colored band. And so at the moment, those are some of the colors that popped up during my recollection when the detective showed up. And I could describe the driver as being very able to run, move from the vehicle. I was pretty sure as to it being not someone very young, maybe not an older individual, sort of physically capable of being able to run away and sort of still present within the moment of realizing what happened and sort of leaving the situation.
And you made that determination just by 5 or 6 seconds of observation out of your window?
Yeah.
You testified earlier that you saw someone, but you didn't see him face to face. That'd be fair to say?
Yeah.
And the logs that ended up in your yard, you stated that they came from your neighbor's yard. Would that be fair to say?
Correct.
Do you know what they used those logs for?
That they were sort of placed around. They have a few decorations around their yard. They have a fireplace. They have some seating areas. Those logs were sort of just there to sort of sit down because they're little stumpy logs. They had some sort of, as you can see from the image, they're sort of put together by some metal band. So they're not really just there for use, but more they were just kind of put there for them to sit around.
So pretty much just, if they're out there in the yard, they may use them to sit on, some of that nature.
Correct, yeah.
You recall how many logs were out there?
Not necessarily. I can say maybe 4 or 3. I knew they were there, but I couldn't really tell you the exact number. But I have a general idea of what's in their yard.
And you stated at some point, you and friends or family member, I'm not sure which one you said, but y'all kind of gathered around the vehicle at some point?
Yeah. When I was the first one to head on down because I was the first one to see sort of the vehicle. When I went out, I tried contacting my neighbors from downstairs. They tried investigating, like if anybody had a red car, a red SUV, or anything, and he came back to me and said no. And I told him that there's a vehicle in our driveway, and so everybody came out. Everybody was sort of looking at the vehicle, and everybody was pretty confused because nobody recognized it as theirs or anybody they knew.
So it was more of a let's go see what he's talking about and figure out if it belongs to anyone type of thing.
That was the main purpose. We were trying to figure out what was going on because we never recognized the vehicle. We've never seen it before, or I've never seen it before. And as soon as I described it to them, they've never seen it before. And they have quite a few people around that visit them, or they had quite a few people that used to visit them a lot. And even then, they couldn't recognize the vehicle.
So what did you guys do from that point after coming out and kind of all collectively observing the vehicle? What did you do from that point?
As soon as that happened, not that long away, we contacted the police because we were concerned of like sort of the vehicle as to why it was left there, or who left the vehicle there, and so when we started seeing people leaving or heading down from Maple Avenue away from downtown Waukesha, we started kind of maybe speculating that it was probably involved in because everybody knew that there was a parade going on, and we started maybe recollecting that maybe it was part of the parade or maybe something happened, especially because when we were looking at people leaving the parade, some of them looked scared, some of them were kind of walking faster than usual, some running. We were a little bit concerned. We were just trying to figure out what was going on.
So it'd be fair to say at that point it was just confusion, no knowledge of anything happening at that point.
Since we weren't at the parade, no. At that moment, we just saw a vehicle in our driveway, and we were trying to figure out what was going on.
Do you recall what you were doing right when you looked out the blinds? Like, what were you doing leading up to hearing the scrape and then looking out the blinds?
Like I said, since I was, when I explained first when I heard the vehicle in the first questioning, I mentioned that I was just kind of sitting down. We have a chair, or not a chair, but we have kind of like a recliner couch, and I was just kind of having a regular afternoon. And since I'm right by the window, as soon as I heard something, I was able to try to investigate what was that noise, or what that noise was.
And at the point that you called law enforcement, do you recall how long before law enforcement came to the scene?
I personally didn't call law enforcement. Like I said, our neighbors called law enforcement. So I couldn't really say an exact time, but they were there fairly quickly. And as soon as they arrived, we were just told to get inside, back in the building.
I'm sorry, can you clear the exhibit? I forgot it was.
It happens.
I forgot it
It's
was.
late.
Do you recall who took the photographs?
The photographs, no.
Were they part of the collective group that all kind of met up to figure out what was going on with the vehicle?
Nobody was actually taking photographs during that time. They were, the neighbors downstairs were, sort of, what's it called? They were just kind of inside the building, and as soon as I left the building, we were just kind of looking at it, and we were trying to figure out what was going on. At the moment, we were just trying to see if we can get help because we weren't really sure what was going on. So
the photographs that you saw on the exhibits today, was this your first time seeing those photographs?
The photographs specifically, yes, but the vehicle and the whole scenery, no.
No, just the photographs. Was what you saw today, was that your first time seeing those photographs?
These photographs?
Yes.
No.
So you've seen them before today?
Like I said, I was able to see sort of the what's it called? The whole situation, and I was able to sort of, be aware of what was going on.
I'm asking specifically about the exhibits, the photos. Had you seen those before today?
Before today, yes.
And do you recall who showed them to you?
It was mostly just detectives trying to figure out what was going on, sort of that line of questioning that I went through.
And you did say you don't know who took the photographs. Do you recall if the law enforcement that came to the scene took the photos?
When we were asked to go back inside, yeah. When they were trying to investigate what was going on, there was investigators taking photographs and people trying to figure out what was going on.
So to the best of your knowledge, you do know who took the photographs?
Not personally, no. There was people taking photographs, but...
So multiple officers?
Yes.
And that night of the incident, when the vehicle was found and the law enforcement officers were taking the photos, did you see the photos at that time?
No.
And would it be fair to say that you were subpoenaed to come and testify today?
I was subpoenaed to come testify.
Do you recall by whom?
By the what would you say? Just by this, not the state, but the city of Waukesha, or the town of Waukesha.
District Attorney's Office, officer, or?
Just when I received the subpoena letter, it was just from Waukesha. What's it called? Not really. I don't recall any name specifically on the letter, but I just remembered I was being subpoenaed by the city of Waukesha.
Do you recall when you received that subpoena?
Maybe about maybe like a month before, or maybe 2 months before this happened, or
Before today, you mean?
I wouldn't say exactly before today, but maybe before the trial, sometime in August.
The neighbor who's, as we saw in the photos in the exhibit, there was a neighbor whose car had scrapes. Do you recall if they filed any claim in regards to the scrapes?
In regards to the scrapes, no, just because they weren't actually there. I think they were actually at the parade, and since all of Maple was kind of shut down as soon as the police showed up, I think they had trouble getting in or getting to their house. So they got there late as soon as everything was cleared up, and the day after, they were able to see the damage to their vehicle, and they were able to sort of after that whole situation, they sort of knew what had happened, and they probably figured that the damage that was caused was probably from the vehicle that was in the parade. So I don't think filing a claim was probably their main concern at the moment, because yeah.
Do you recall having any conversations with the owner of the vehicle at some point? Maybe they may have wanted to ask if anyone heard what had transpired. Do you recall having any conversations with him about what happened that night?
Objection. Hearsay.
Grounds.
Well, the way that he asked it is just, did they have conversations? I'll let the witness answer that specific question without disclosing the content first. Did you have any conversations?
After, it was the day after the incident that I talked to the neighbor.
Was anyone else present in your home the night of the incident that may have seen anything to your recollection?
Not necessarily. Like I said, our neighbors were downstairs, and I had to contact them to let them know what was going on. I told, like I said, my little brother was there, but he has autism, so he's in his own world. And my mom was also in the building, and then she was sort of confused as to what was going on, because I had to go tell her, like, hey, like, someone caused damage to our cars, like, let's go see what happened. And what's it called? As soon as I did that, everybody was aware. But yeah.
Was your family vehicles damaged?
Our vehicles, no.
After you contacted your neighbors who were downstairs, do you recall anyone telling you that their vehicles may have been damaged in any way?
At the moment of the incident,
Yes.
no, they were all at the moment of the incident. Like I said, we were all sort of looking at the vehicle, and we were sort of walking around. There was a select few of us that went back, and then we were sort of seeing some of the damage that was made to the yard and what's it called? We as soon as they were calling the cops, none of them really said that they had like damage to their car. I could see part of the black SUV that was sort of a little bit touched up, but it wasn't as bad as the Infinity that was in my neighbor's house.
After the law enforcement came to the scene, I'm sure that you had brief conversations with them. Did anyone from law enforcement ever contact you again after that point about additional information that maybe you missed that night?
At the exact moment of the situation, as soon as law enforcement showed up, we were told immediately to head back up to our house, back inside. A little bit after, we were contacted by some detectives, and that was that same night. We were just contacted once, and then the day after the incident, we were contacted again.
So anytime after the day after, did you have any contact with any law enforcement about the incident of that night?
That day after I did, yeah.
And then after that, none?
After that, yeah.
Was that a ways off, a little time after, or was it still relatively close to the event?
So the first times that I was sort of contacted by detectives was the day after, and what's it called? And I was contacted later on by sort of victim help, but we never really reached out. But apart from that, not. And then I was contacted again before the trial as well. So that would be a little bit closer to the trial.
You just said victim help. Can you explain what victim help is?
Well, I couldn't really specify what it is because I really never reached out. But we were reached out by I don't know if they were in an organization or just help from the county for people that suffered from the parade. And we were also reached out because we were involved in the situation, just because our house was sort of in the whole mess, and
Right, with
we sort of
vehicle being found in your driveway.
we were sort of pretty shaken up about the situation too. So when we talked to detectives, we were all pretty shaken up. I was pretty shaken up, sort of scared, sort of frustrated too.
So, why didn't you follow up with victim care if you had, a few concerns after the incident? What prompted you not to follow up with victim care?
Objection.
Grounds.
Relevance.
On relevance grounds, I'll sustain the objection.
And are you aware who the plaintiff is in this matter?
Yes.
And who would the plaintiff be?
Plaintiff being sort of, or I guess you can say the defendant, Darrell Brooks.
The defendant would be the plaintiff?
Or not the defendant, but a plaintiff, or I guess, what's it called? Could you kind of sort of
The plaintiff
elaborate?
would be who is actually bringing the claim?
Oh, the plaintiff bringing the claim.
Who's bringing the claim would be the plaintiff?
That would be the city of Waukesha. Sorry.
The city of Waukesha?
I'm confused by the questioning. If I'm going to be completely honest.
And I'll object and move to
strike
strike the line of questioning for relevance.
Grounds
Well-
answered.
He answered it. May stand. Next question, please.
And you stated that at that time you didn't, there was confusion about what was going on. So just so we're clear, you at that time you didn't learn any information about what had transpired at the parade at that time.
At that time, specifically, can you specify what time?
At the time that you observed the vehicle in your driveway and then had the initial, I guess, friends and family kind of like.
Oh, during that time window.
During that time, yeah.
During that time window, like you mentioned, as soon as I witnessed the vehicle, I had no idea what was going on in my driveway or what led to that vehicle being left in my driveway. And like I mentioned before, as soon as we being our neighbors from downstairs and my mom, we all went downstairs and we kind of looked at the vehicle, and then we started realizing what was going on as soon as we saw people leaving the parade, leaving away from downtown Waukesha, and we were able to sort of figure out what was going on, but not necessarily like exactly what happened.
And you stated you saw people running from the downtown area or from the other way. I can't remember which one you said, but you said you saw it was kind of like people were kind of all over the place.
Not necessarily all over the place, I would say. There was a cohesion as to the direction that people were leaving or heading towards. It looked like people were heading towards, not towards, but more away from downtown Waukesha. So
You said like a library coming from the way of a library or something?
the library is closest to the downtown Waukesha area, so they were heading away from that sort of general direction.
You made a reference to they was going towards the direction where train tracks were?
Yeah, so that'd be going away from Waukesha or downtown Waukesha.
Do you recall do you recall how many people it were? Was it a lot of people? Was it?
There was quite a bit of people, yeah. It wasn't just one person, two people. There was people. There was some people carrying their children. Some other people kind of with strollers and stuff.
So generally like a crowd.
I guess you can say, but they were all sort of still in the street, sort of still walking with all their belongings. Yeah.
Did any one of them mention what had happened at that time that you recall? Grounds.
It does call for hearsay. Do you want to ask him that? You just want to know if he talked to them?
I was asking, did he, to his recollection, did any one of the people that was moving away from the area, did they say anything that he recalls?
Calls for hearsay. Do you want someone to sustain the objection?
You could sustain.
Okay.
That'd do it. No more questions.
Okay, thank you. Any redirect?
Very, very briefly, Your Honor. Could we please put up exhibit number 66, which has previously been published? I asked to publish it again.
Go ahead.
And while we're waiting for that to come up on the jury monitors, I'll ask Mr. Arashiga, from the moment you arrived downstairs and saw the vehicle in your driveway until the moment that the police arrived, were you standing near the vehicle that whole time?
Objection. Relevancy.
Overruled.
So when the officers arrived, the first responders, I guess you can say, when they first arrived, we were not necessarily like right by the vehicle, but we were sort of in that general area, right by the balcony area. And as soon as they showed up, we were told to just get back inside. So we just walked back inside the building. But yeah, we weren't really right on top of it. We were just kind of by that area.
When you say balcony, you're referring to the front balcony closest to Maple?
Sustained as to the form of the question.
When you say balcony, what balcony are you referring to?
I guess I say balcony, but more like porch. In a previous photograph, or in another photograph, we were able to see some chairs in that porch area, and that's sort of kind of where everybody was hanging around. And as soon as the cops showed up, they told us to get back inside.
So you're talking about the backyard.
Objection, leading.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
What yard are you talking about?
The yard that we were hanging around.
Yes.
That would be sort of the front yard, when the first responders showed up. Because as soon as they showed up, they told us to get back inside, and we went back inside right away.
From the moment you got downstairs until the moment the first responders arrived, did you see anybody else walk up to the vehicle?
Objection.
Aside from your group. Just hold on a second. Wait
There's
to
an
address
objection.
Speculation.
Overruled, he may answer.
Sorry. On the vehicle. Sorry, can you repeat the question? I forgot about it. I'm sorry.
Aside from the people in your group, the people you knew, from the moment you got downstairs and saw the SUV in your driveway until the moment that the first responders arrived, did you see anybody else walk up to the vehicle?
Objection. Speculation.
Overruled, he may answer. Excuse me.
So between that time, no, nobody else approached the vehicle. All the people that were around the area were people that were with my neighbors, and then just me and my mom as well. Nobody else walking from the parade.
Can we zoom in on the house and exhibit number 66, please?
Objection, relevancy.
It's previously been admitted.
Do you see the window that you were looking out of on the second floor in this picture?
Yes.
Can you circle it for us?
It'd be right about here, or yeah.
Can we please preserve that annotation, mark it as 66A, and I'd move that into evidence.
Objection. What's the relevancy?
Your objections noted. 66A is received.
And I have nothing else. Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. Sir, you may step down. Was he on your list of subpoenas?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Okay, then he may be dismissed. Or excused, sorry.